how this works is, we're kind of on the leading edge of change of command season. And you'll see everybody grab that stick with a big blue flag on it. And what that means is that person who's holding it, that's who you get to yell at, because they're responsible for making your life better. And if your life isn't better, you know who to yell at. It's the person who just grabbed that stick, okay? Those people need to know that there's an issue. I can't fix stuff we don't know what it is. And so as opposed to a lot of times when we come into these forums, we just get people like, they stand up and they give us a bunch of statistics, and I say, well, what does that mean? It's kind of like if I give you a survey, and you come back to me and you say, sir, our 3 biggest problems are like, this and this and this. I go, well, why? I go, how many people said this one? 5? I mean, was that collectively the strongest answer, so those become our top 3 things? I mean, just people who, what I'm saying is that the survey may not be getting at the problems. And so I'm trying to figure out other ways to figure it out. I mean, one way I personally figure it out, I sit there and I watch the chit-chat page. And I'll be honest with you, the 3 things that people told me, like, oh, hey, these are our big issues at Andersen, never heard them talk about it on the chit-chat page. I haven't really found a way to write a macro to collectively grab all that chit-chat commentary into something that's usable, but I'm sure somebody smart enough can. Maybe NSA can help me do that. I don't know. But that's kind of what I'm talking about, is I'm trying to figure out what's the way to get at the issues that are really pressing and then apply resources to that problem. So anyway, the intent of this is to get the word out more along the lines of, this is just sort of the start of a conversation, okay? And the intent here is to open up a topic that potentially is a lightning rod, so people will come in and go, yes, that stinks, and here's what I think. And we can explain to them why it looks the way it does, or maybe they don't understand how it's intended to be used, or all get through those things, the education piece. And then, quite honestly, there's some pieces that probably need to get looked at, or reassessed. And so we'll go through this, but if there's other things that need to be discussed, that's really the intent here, is to kind of get at what the real issues are. But at the end of the day, all the folks coming up here to talk are really only here to help the person that grabbed that guide on do their job better. Because ultimately the rose is pinned on them, and it ultimately rolls up to me, because I'm the one who has to say it's my fault if it doesn't get done. Okay? So to that end, I don't want it to be my fault, so I want to make sure I'm getting at everything that we need to have fixed here. Okay, you got it.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Major Adam Vaccarezza. I'm the Resilient Airmen's Council Executive Director. Good. How this is going to work today, and I'm going to take us through the event. What we're going to be doing is we'll start off with 3 very short briefings. The first one on child and youth programs, then off to the results of the community assessment survey, and then the med group will do a short briefing on their provider shortage way ahead. And then what we're going to do is, the most important part of this whole thing is opening up the mics for question and answer, to get your feedback, to get your comments, to get your concerns, and also to let us know what we're doing right, too, because I think it's just as important as getting us to fix the problems, because if something's going good, we want to continue those programs. So without further ado, what I'll do is we'll call up the Child and Youth Program Directors, and they'll give us their first briefing.
My name is Moana Onisong, and I'm the Child Development Center Director. We are located at Building 1625, Santa Rosa Boulevard, near the Chapel 2 and the elementary school. Our hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 0600 to 1730. We offer childcare for children ages 6 weeks to 5 years of age. We have a wonderfully accredited program through the National Association for the Education of Young Children. Currently, the capacity of the CDC is at 205 with enrollment at 78%. The CDC is a wonderfully accredited program. The programs that we offer are full-time care, hourly care, which is based on spaces that are available, the enrichment program for children ages 3 to 5, Give Parents a Break program, which is offered every third Saturday of the month from 1800 to 2300. If you have any questions regarding childcare, please come by the Child Development Center and we'll be sure to assist you. The next CYP program is the school age care. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Nikki Ann Torres, and I am the School Age Coordinator. We are located within the CDC building and follow the same hours of operation. The School Age program offers childcare for children kinder through 12 years of age. We have the capacity to hold 89 students. We are currently at 83% enrollment. At this time, our waiting list consists only of families inbound requiring care in the fall. The types of care we provide are before and after school, hourly care, full day care for when school is not in session, summer camps, Give Parents a Break, and Parents' Night Out. The Andersen School Age program is fully accredited by the Council of Accreditation. We are chartered members of the Boys and Girls Club of America and 4-H clubs, offering many of their program activities. Our unique program is designed to enhance children's existing abilities while introducing and encouraging new interest areas and skills. Summer begins next week, and we have a variety of camps to offer our kids. For more information, please stop by or give us a call. Thank you for your time and have a great day. Our next CYP program is Child Development Homes.
Good morning and half a day. My name is Leonora Tovis, and I am the Child Development Home Director. Our office is now located at 1714B Polynesian Drive. The Child Development Home Program is also known as Family Child Care, is a setting in which CDH providers provide care for children in their own homes on base. This type of arrangement offers a home-like, natural environment and more flexibility in the hours of operation to accommodate your work schedule. The capacity for each home is 6. It's a total of 6. This is to include the provider's children and the children they care for. All CDH providers provide full-time, part-time, before and after school, evenings, weekends, PCS care, EDC, extended duty care, and volunteer care. Child care for 6 weeks and through 12 years old. All CDH providers are certified by Department of Defense and are currently accredited by the National Association for Family Child Care. If you or anyone is interested in becoming a child development home provider, the rewards are staying home with your own children, earn an income, be your own boss, receive ongoing training in a rewarding profession at really no cost to you, and acquire new skills that will allow you to offer children the highest quality of care. If you are interested, please come by the office and pick up an application. For more information, about becoming a child CDH provider, you can contact me at the numbers provided. Thank you and have a wonderful day. The next CYP program is Teen and Youth.
Thank you, Ms. Lenora from CDH. Good morning, everybody. My name is Melva Del Rosario, Youth Programs Director. Youth and Teen Centers under the Child and Youth Programs offer free membership for military and DoD civilian dependents. For the Youth Center, 9 to 12 years old, we provide an array of supervised Boys and Girls Club of America activities, 4-H, special events, and clubs which are listed on the slide. Youth Center also offers instructional classes for nominal fee. Teen Center also provides the same BGCA activities for 13 to 18 years old. In addition, they offer YES, which is Youth Employment Skills Program. YES program allows Air Force, active duty, high school dependents to bank $4 for every hour volunteered in an approved on-base program such as CYP facilities. They can volunteer up to 250 hours to earn $1,000 in grant funding. For the youth sports, baseball, soccer, and basketball are offered seasonal, and recently we added ultimate frisbee and cheerleading. Summer camp will start next week, and we have activities lined up for 9 to 18 years old for a nominal fee. For more information, please call the front office of the Youth Center or come to the building 1622 or the Teen Center building 1605 next to the swimming pool. Thank you for your time and have a nice day.
Thank you, ladies. Our next briefer will be Captain Rosary, the IDS chair, and she'll be discussing the community assessment survey results.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Captain Rosary. I'm the IDS chair. And first, I'm going to actually talk about the SRI, which is the Support and Resiliency Inventory. So this was done back in December. These are results from that inventory. And basically, what to pull from here is that the social fitness under individual fitness for overall resiliency was the lowest. So that's one area that actually stuck out in the community assessment survey results as well, as you'll see in the next slide. So the SRI was broken down into 4 areas of overall resiliency. So overall resiliency was one, individual fitness, social connections, and positive behaviors. So the areas in red are just the areas that were lower, a little bit lower. So as far as social connections, most people go to their friends and family, which kind of makes sense, right, in the time of need. And so some of the lower areas were base leadership, spiritual leadership, military support agencies, and neighbors. The last area was positive behaviors. And with that, 88% was effective problem solving. So most people feel like they're able to problem solve through their difficulties or their challenges. And then, which is a good thing. And then involvement was at 47%. And so that's the area where people don't feel that they're as connected or aren't as involved. And so that's kind of another area we wanted to bring your attention to. So as for the community assessment survey results, we received these back in February. For those of you that don't know, the community assessment is done every 2 years. And with the community assessment, you formulate the community action plan. So that's also done every 2 years. So with the community assessment survey results, the focus areas were primarily under community well-being. So that was the community satisfaction, community unity, support for youth, safety, support from leadership and work group cohesion and preparedness. So a lot of the areas that were lower, I guess, compared to PACAF and Air Force were under the community well-being. The other area that was slightly lower was the attractors to mental health services, the peer stigma specifically. So with that, AFMO is the Air Force Medical Operations Agency. They're actually doing a Dispel Mental Health Stigma campaign, and so that's going to be actually coming up soon here, and that's going to be Air Force-wide. So as far as the sustainment areas, those are areas that if we continue to do well in, like we're doing well in those areas. So if we continue to do well in those areas, then that could increase member satisfaction, member overall satisfaction. So again, the overall resilience, and that goes back to actually the SRI as well too, with the overall resilience factor. Personal adjustment in general, so depressive symptoms, personal coping, and physical health. And physical health was actually significantly higher than the Air Force and PACAF, so we're doing well in that area. And the impact of deployment on family members, so the ability of the spouse to cope with the deployment specifically was something that we were significantly higher in. So this slide just shows the actual percentages. It's through that slide up there, so you can see that we actually get those numbers from a standardized tool that was used. So that just goes back to the community unity, community satisfaction. So the red, I mean, this is looking at statistical differences. So if there's, so it could be, 2 percentage points off and still be red. So it's like it's looking at the statistical differences, and that's what I was saying. The areas that were areas that we could improve on were in this community well-being overall, and all those areas, community safety, community satisfaction, support for youth, community unity, all those were under the community well-being. We're lower. So, and specifically for community safety, okay. So Andersen's at 80%. So we're lower than the PACAF and the U.S. Air Force for specifically under community safety. So even though we're at 80%, PACAF is at 90%. And some of them are not.
Those are the ones that were identified in the survey, and you have the asterisk down below, and it said something along the lines of, if we changes to those could have a higher impact to basis well-being.
Right. So it's saying like changes in those areas could potentially, if you make changes in those areas, those could potentially increase member satisfaction and increase the general health of the base.
Why it's not marked?
Because that's how
the PACAF and the Air Force. Why there's a difference there? We're not sure. But those were the indicators that they said if we made a change in those areas, they could significantly increase the well-being of the base population.
that's how they explain it to us when they're doing our training. That if you improve those areas, then it could. I mean, that's how the wording is too. It could potentially increase the member satisfaction or health of the base. All right. Oops. I think I changed this around here. I skipped one. I don't know. Okay. So, some of the feedback, which we're at the end, I know we're going to open up for people to make comments and suggestions, feedback, and everything. But this is some of the stuff that we got from the Caring for People feedback. So we asked 4 questions. The first question was, what would increase your satisfaction with the Andersen Air Force Base community? And these are the responses, some of the responses that we got back. So if any of you all today have any responses back, please let us know. But the commissary, quality of produce, better communication, marketing of events, increased family activities, more dining options in general, families PCSing, having available TLF, and spouse employment. The second question that we asked was, what would increase your pride in being a part of Team Andersen? So some of the responses were increased unit morale events, more off-base volunteer activities, and renovated housing. The third question was, if leadership were more supportive of your or your spouse's life in the Air Force, what would they be doing differently, or doing more of? Okay. So the responses that we received from that was proper administrative action progression and or feedback, knowing your people, more unit activities or functions, checking in with family members when active duty members deployed. Keep in mind, I know that we do some of this stuff, and actually some of the feedback that we got was that people thought that their commands and leadership was supportive, and that they love it at Andersen, and that they have great pride. And so just want to throw that in there as well. And then the last question that we asked was, if you came back to Andersen Air Force Base 3 years from now and the base no longer required blank, or they provided blank, why would that be awesome? And some of the responses we got were circular shuttle on a consistent basis. I hear that was here previously, but so to common areas, affordable long-term rental car program for families PCSing in and out, and permanent awnings for on-base housing. So people feel that having to re-drill holes into the cement, we could avoid that by just having permanent awnings. And short trips to nearby islands advertised. So, we have X number of slots to Saipan or to whatever island, nearby islands. So the last thing was some possible ways ahead that we thought about through the IDS. And the IDS is actually meeting this afternoon as well to talk more about our community action planning. So for community satisfaction, we have a lot of events going on, actually, at least from what I've seen. So just making sure that we publish those events, marketing, getting it to the end user as best as possible, maximizing our interagency collaboration among our IDC and RAC members, so and private organizations as well. Utilizing as much communication as possible. The general mentioned the chit chat page, so possibly if we could stock the chit chat page more, or just get some ideas, throw some ideas out there for that. Formation of a dorm council or other social groups in the dorms. Changing the culture, because I talked to some airmen and they were just kind of saying like it's not cool to go to like some of the events. So trying to kind of see what their interests are as to, you know, what would be cool. Some said prizes or, you know, different tournaments and things like that. Andersen Pride, units asking members their input on ideas about their morale events, what ideas would they want to see. And then for unit leadership, communication is key. We all know that. And I just added their quarterly calls to families. And I know some units do that already, but just putting that out there. And then also, as I mentioned before, the community action planning. So that's what we are looking at doing, and we definitely welcome your questions, comments, concerns, and feedback. Thank you.
All right, our next briefer is from the medical group. It's Captain Alan Sollenberg. He'll be discussing the medical group provider shortage way ahead.
Good morning, General. Good morning, Chief. Team Andersen. My name is Captain Alan Sollenberg. I'm the group practice manager for the med group. Just talking about our provider shortage that we're having due to PCS cycle and a couple of things that are just kind of outside the norms of our normal day control. Knowing that we're going to have this problem, we decided to kind of be a little proactive with this and really tackle the active duty issue that we're having, trying to get our folks in to be seen. And so what we're going to do with that is we've started an acute care clinic in flight medicine. And with that, what we're asking is our active duty folks to call the med group at 366-WELL or 9355 between 7 and 9:30. And we're basically going to walk those folks in, get them taken care of. And what we're covering in that is anything musculoskeletal. So if you twist a knee, twist an ankle, hurt a shoulder, you wake up and you're sick, go ahead and give us a call, and we're going to get you in that day, make sure we're taking care of you. After that time, there's still acute appointments throughout the day, but what we're probably going to do is if you're sick enough or hurt enough, probably put you on some quarters and have you come in the next day to be seen by a physician so we can take care of you. The big limb fact on this is going to be, and the problem that we're going to have is for our active duty family members and our retirees, trying to get them in 100% to the clinic right now. And so the way forward with that is we're going to see those patients, but if we need to, we're going to have to send them down to our urgent care clinics. On the next slide, I've got those 2 clinics listed that we normally send folks to. But as far as your wellness care, routines, labs, radiology, we're still going to handle all of that within the med group. It's just some of those urgent care issues that we may not be able to take care of on a day-to-day basis. For an emergency, I'm not a medic. I'm an admin person. So, layman terms, if you feel that there is an emergency, we ask you to call 911, and we kind of spelled it out there: life, limb, eyesight. You know, if you feel that it's an emergency, please call 911, and they'll help you with that. If it's after hours and you're not sure whether or not to call 911, you can call 366-WELL. Option 1 will send you straight through to our healthcare providers after hours, which is ISOS. That's our insurance company. And what they'll do is they'll triage you in a sense of making sure that you either need an urgent care or you need emergent care. And then they'll put the referral in for you to be seen at either the AMC, which is the American Medical Center, or FHP, which is the Family Health Practice downtown. Pending any questions, sir?
Okay, that pretty much wraps up the formal portion. We're going to move ahead to the question and answer session. We have floor microphones out there. If the mic runners can just raise your hands. Okay, and the only thing I ask is that if you're the expert on the floor and you're going to be answering a question, just please stand up and we'll also get you a microphone to answer the question. So the floor is open.
Good morning, I'm Tech Sergeant Baldwin from the FSS, and I have a 3-year-old in the CDC, and soon to be another. But my daughter has been having a lot of injuries in the CDC lately, caused by other children in the CDC, to include permanent scars on her face now, being bit in the face, being scratched in the face, being pushed, and getting a lot of bruises. I have talked to the CDC about this in the past, every time, and I feel like there's not any progress happening. The last time with the bite in the face, it was, well, we're going to have the kids read a book. She's 3, so she doesn't do that yet. So I just want to know, at what point does that kid who is injuring another child, because it's always the same one, when do they get removed or actions being taken?
Hello, thank you for that question. Right now, what usually happens is if there is a pattern of certain behavior, we go ahead and sit down with the child of the parent who is, if there is an aggressor. But I am looking into your concern, working with the teachers, seeing what other options we can do to help the children that are, they have a certain aggression or biting or hitting your child. And I'd like to get with you too again after this meeting if you'd like to, and then we can continue to look into helping to ensure that your child is safe in the Child Development Center, because we don't want children to be hurt in the Child Development Center. And I would like to work with you, Sergeant Baldwin. Thank you.
Any more questions?
My name is Kendra Harvey, and I'm a dependent spouse here. I'm actually, we're part of HSC 25, we're Navy. My husband's currently deployed, and I ran into a child care situation. I went to the CDC to try and get my children in. They told me that they're full. They told me that they could not tell me where we were on the list. They couldn't tell me when, if any time, my children would be able to enter the CDC. So for several weeks now, I have had my children at various people's houses, and they told me, I asked them, okay, I need a better answer than this, because I'm working, my husband's deployed, and I need somebody to take care of my children. And in that, they told me, I'm sorry, you may have to quit your job. And they just walked away from me. So I do currently have childcare now off base for my children, and we drive to Tamuning every day.
Okay, thank you for that question, Ms. Harvey. Currently, we are opening up another preschool room. I'd have to look into see what age group you were talking about as far as childcare. The priority right now is single dual military, and then we do have your category if you are a working spouse. And I apologize for the information that was given to you regarding the feedback that you got regarding the question that you had pertaining to your child care needs. I will check with the waiting list again to see where it is you are on the waiting list. But we currently placed families that are dual working, families that are inbound right now, as far as single military families that have been placed. 2, we've also placed families that that have a family that have a spouse that is a full-time student. So, but again, I'm not sure exactly what happened with your waiting list application, but I will look into that to help you out there. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm the FSS commander, Lieutenant Colonel Bray, and I want to speak towards the behavior of the person who perhaps you encountered at the CDC. So I would like to get with you after this to find out exactly who that was, and so we can kind of look into that issue, because there is two separate issues. There's whether or not we have the capacity for your child, and also the way in which you were handled. So let's talk about that, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
I think one of the questions is not really being, the question becomes that they're sort of generically sending to you without really asking is there some policy or scenic rule that says that no one can see the list, where am I on the list, and when would I fall, what's going on? So I think the question, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think what we're looking for, the parents are looking for, is transparency in the process, or is there a policy that says, no, we protect that because we have a prioritization scheme and somebody can jump based on a priority or they don't. I think that's the part that people are confused by, because if they understand how it works and where they are on the list, they should be able to see it and kind of get some expectation of when they think they might slot in. And I don't know what the rules are that cover that whole thing, but I think that's probably part of the frustration is just a lack of transparency.
With the waiting list, sometimes what happens is when we have people that are inbound, they're not on island yet, they're dual military, single military, or military working spouse, the date of their application changes once they get on island. Well, not the date, it's what the priority changes. So if a family that's on island puts their name on the list and they need care today, we have families that are not on island yet that are on a projected list. Projected means they don't need care at this moment, but once they get on island, it changes the number of where the families are on the list. So dual military families, single military families, they can change the number. So if I give you a number today, let's say you're number 5, but you're not dual military or single military, it changes your number when those families arrive on island. So that's why we don't like to give out numbers of where you're at on the waiting list.
Okay, but there's a prioritization scheme that says you are priority whatever,
yes.
3, and priority
Correct.
1's out-prioritize priority 3 folks.
Yes.
And so I think that here's the takeaway, I don't want to go back and forth on this. I owe you more transparency in how the process works. You should know exactly where you are and who out-prioritizes you and why. And so you may not like it, but you'll, like what you just said, if somebody comes in, I mean, that you'll at least understand how the process is running, and we owe you that. And we will put together, a better education campaign to explain it to all the folks that are using the CDC so that they know which list they're on, how they move up that list, and then what happens if, what affects your position in the list. So we'll do that for them, right? Yeah, so yes, ma'am.
My biggest thing was that I understand the prioritization, and that wasn't my issue. My issue was they could not tell me if it was going to be possibly a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months. They told me, no, we can't tell you that. We just can't tell you that. And I said, well, that's really hard because I need to let my work know whether I'm going to work tomorrow or I have to stay home because I don't have anybody to care for my children.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. And what we'll try to do, and Alonzo will take that on, is to sort of get a better assessment of what the capacity is going to be and a projection on that. And realize, I mean, it's like we all kind of have a summer turnover, and our best estimates kind of get thwarted when all of a sudden we realize, a whole bunch of folks are coming in or a whole bunch of folks are leaving. But we owe you a better projection of what's going on, and we'll get to you that. Another question, and it kind of comes back to Sergeant Baldwin's question, that I'm curious about myself is, and do we have in place now a system of review of the tapes in the CDC, of the rooms with the kids in there, so that we know if the camera's not working or the tape's not running? I'm not, you don't have to, my only point is that that's another area that probably we need to make sure that we owe our folks a dedicated, that there is a dedicated review going on, so I know if the tape isn't running or the camera's not working at whatever interval. Is that a weekly interval or a daily interval now, or what is that?
It is now, sir.
It's what? A daily interval or a weekly? A weekly interval. So the question now becomes is you know, a lot of times when we hear that, what I do is I send the investigating officer to the tapes myself and say, look at the tapes, you know, to see, you know, what was really going on, what can you see? And so what we realized in the past was that the camera wasn't running. You know, there'd been an error, you know, the system broke down. So in an attempt to get at that problem, we've instituted a process to actually, you know, go in and review each of the tapes just so that we know when the system broke. I mean, we get a light saying it's good, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was good.
Can you review those tapes without there being an open investigation? Because I was told no, unless I pressed charges against a 3-year-old that I couldn't see the tapes.
Yeah, that's not the case. We do have to be discriminate about who we allow to view the tapes and how often, just because of the, you know, Your Own Privacy Act and things like that. There is a process, but there doesn't have to be a necessary an open investigation for that to happen. But we can work one-on-one with each incident just to kind of gauge what we need to look at and when, okay?
Okay, we're still open for more questions, comments, feedback.
I'm Technical Sergeant Thrash from the Combat Comm Squadron. My issues are kind of similar to this lady's over here. My husband is a dependent spouse, and he does not work. Part of the reason why he doesn't work is because of spousal employment. It's difficult for him to find a job. And secondly, any job that he could probably get would not be able to afford the amount of child care we would have to pay for 2 children, 3 and 2 years old. So it's just very difficult in that situation, having a spouse that is a dependent working, and then also you're like the 3rd priority on the list. So it's very difficult to even get into the CDC. And I don't know if there's like something that maybe we can do in the future where it makes it a little easier for people that have spouses that either, you know, couldn't work and make a lot of money, or, you know, for that priority, 3rd priority is difficult. And I'm just bringing up my issue. I don't really need a response for it right now, but it's like similar situation where my spouse can't even work at this point.
Thank you. More feedback? Sir? Mike?
It seems this priority system kind of masks the true demand signal for the CDC, and that we're forcing people that have the ability, because they're married, to just leave one parent at home to watch the kids. Seems like, you know, the overarching demand signal for this is much greater, and that priority system just masks it. So maybe you readdress that to get the real signal, so you can take care of some of the people that have deployed spouses or have another partner or spouse who would like to work.
Yeah.
One of the other things that's not being really, you know, represented here, at least in other bases I've been at, is the family care, you know, home options, where we talked about, like in the example could be, you know, if your husband was going to, I'm not saying this, but, you know, an example could be, in other places I've been, where a spouse just elects to set up, you know, and run, like add 2 or 3 more kids to their house, and they get paid to take care of those kids, you know, for during the week, and they go through your program, and they get validated and vetted, and they get trained on how to do it. And, you know, I've even seen some squadrons where they will swap out. I mean, they'll have like 3 families, and they'll, like, you know, like ping pong ball through those 3 families on how they do something like that. I'm not saying, I mean, it's an option, but the you know, we live on an island where everything is built to withstand 180-mile-an-hour winds, and that drives a certain constraint, which in our particular case is 205. But that also means we have other options with the family home care stuff for some of the folks to get at some of the other provider things. I don't know what our success rate is with family care on base for providers. I'm not sure what those numbers look like, but that is one of the things that would be a great thing to, like, push into your key spouse at the squadron level to say, you know, now HSC 25, that's obviously, you know, but your commander can do the same thing. That's one of those where we can help ourselves on that particular case. I mean, if we hit a capacity issue, then where do we get extra capacity? And that's a safety valve that is built into the system to allow us to do that. But it requires us all to push together as a community to make that happen.
Chief Sheehan, 554 Red Horse. When you guys briefed the percentages on the CDC, you said it was in the 70 percentile. Was that including those on the waiting list?
The 78% fill rate that included all families that were currently enrolled as of June.
Okay, so enrolled meaning those
In the
children
center.
are in the center.
Correct.
But that does not include the waiting list?
No.
Okay.
Mics are still live.
Staff Sergeant Kluge with 644 Combat Com. Just a couple comments and another point. So first of all, I know one big thing is always being feedback. I want to get to the root cause. I know the general here loves to look at the chit-chat page. Unfortunately, we all know that's pretty much filtered. For those that don't, from experience, it very much is. Two things for me that I've always noticed. If you want that truthful feedback, either you have to be out there and get personable with your people, spend that time with them, get people comfortable, or bite the bullet, put out an anonymous forum where people can just say whatever they want, however they want, with no repercussions. And for me, I've always seen good feedback in those cases. The other thing is I got 2 little kids. I know quite a few do. And the youth programs I've seen are pretty much awesome, a lot of options. But anything under 4, there's not a lot to do. We have tumbling for tots. We went up there, and it's pretty hot in there. It gets the doors wide open. The equipment's pretty much run down. You get other people taking their older kids that rampage all over the equipment with the little kids. I obviously understand there's always funding issues, there's always certain priorities. I get it, but maybe some way of possibly looking at other options or fundraising. I mean, we've been looking around certain play equipment. I can order it in for China for $580. Well, minus shipping, but yeah, there are other possible options in our community, ways we could probably get together even to source that funding, even if we can't get it from the installation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll take a little bit of that on. I'm not sure what you mean by filtered, but if you mean the blue book that talks about professionalism in social media, if that's your definition of filter, then yeah, I expect everybody to be professional. If we're talking about just, open feedback, when you point the finger, there's 4 more coming back at you. So I would say that, the intent of this is no one should suffer in silence, and you should let us know exactly what's going on. If you think, I don't know why you would think something's being filtered. We filter things that are offensive. We filter things that are, more emotional than they are substantive. So, I say that, I don't know who does it. I mean, I don't do it. I just sort of see what it is. And what I'm saying is that I'm looking at the initial post that says, what the heck, why is it this way, or whatever. I'm not even looking at sort of the responses that go with that. But I only say that in the sense that I don't think their takeaway should be that there's some big, uber alles function that is like filtering what you're saying, because there's not, other than just your own professionalism and just we're a community. So, I mean, I kind of think of the Facebook thing as somebody yelling across my back fence. At least that's what my wife tells me. I don't do that personally, but I think that's the intent of it. But your point is very valid, and it is exactly what you said, that topic that was brought up to us about maybe 6 or 9 months ago in regards to CrossFit, or actually about a year ago now. And so we're aware, thank you. I mean, that's good. And what we did the last time was I was able to tap into some money and buy CrossFit equipment and find a place for them to do CrossFit where it made sense. And I think it's been pretty successful. I'm not a CrossFitter myself, but I think most of the folks that do it, any CrossFitters in here? Is it good? I mean, is it a good facility? So we'll get at that, and that's a valid point. So that's exactly kind of the sort of feedback we're looking for, so thank you.
Okay. All right. Texter Andion from CRG. I have a question with regard to the power outages at housing. It seems that we've had more power outages than even downtown at a random time. Is there any reason for that, or is there anything or any way of improving that? Thank you.
About a year ago, we identified we had 220-something switches that were 30-plus years old on the installation. And they just suddenly, the fault of those switches picked up drastically last July, I believe is kind of when it started. We have replaced half of those already. They're about $40 million worth of switches. And to sort of give you a definition of what they are, they're air gap switches, and there's a little corrosion on them, and then the electricity gaps over and flips the switch and burns it out. And we're replacing all those with oil-based switches so that there's no gap for them to jump and that it stays within the switch. Housing will be done, majority of it will be done by the end of July. So we should see a lot less power outages come the end of July because we're putting the infrastructure in that hadn't been replaced in over 30 years. So hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, I'm Colonel Carter with the C Squadron. The two circuits that are tripping are P91 and P93, and we have, I don't know, $20 million, Lee, I think. We just showed it at the last wing update, but we'll be working on P91 and P93 over the whole next 6 months, and you should see the decrease in power outages.
Hi, Sergeant Sellers from Protocol Office. Just a quick question about with the youth programs for children 3 and underage. Just wondering if there's more things that'll come up for them eventually in the future, and also the things that they do have available are kind of in the middle of the day. So for a situation like mine where I'm dual military, it's hard for my husband and I to get out of work early to have our son go to those type of extracurricular activities. And also I just want to make, on a positive note, for the home care, I had a good experience with it. So any of those parents that are kind of weary about it, the CDC and Ms. Toes were very helpful. When we first got here, we weren't able to get into the CDC. And we worked with the home care, and we had a really good experience. So just wanted to put that out there for anybody who was interested.
We open for business at the youth center from 1400 to 1730 for the kids who are coming from the schools. Also, we have those instructional classes if you would like to attend it, and ballet, jiu-jitsu, and music. So those are the extracurricular activities that we can offer. I hope that helps.
Yeah, what I'd say is that that's an answer, but that's really not the solution I think we're looking at, because I think most people are still working that. So the question is going to be is how do we do something new and different than what we're doing right now? So we'll look at that and see what we can do. I mean, obviously, you probably knew that answer. What we're looking for is a solution. So we owe you a better solution. So we'll see what we can do within the rules that we're all running by and see what we can come up with.
I just have one more question. Is there any way that we could get childcare at the gym for single parents, single whoever that needs it? Because I know for me, I'm not able to use the gym because there's nobody to watch my children.
Take that back and we'll look into that. I know we do have the parent exercise room, but I understand what you're talking about. I'm in the same situation. I won't bring my daughter up there where I'm trying to work out too. So. Right. Copy. Okay. Yeah. We'll see if that's a possibility. Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to Captain Slater from the wings. One thing I want to put out there for folks that a lot of we're a deployed environment, and the community aspect of things gets promoted a lot, such as the family care plan. I mean, that's a spouse going out of their way. The fitness groups, such as CrossFit, is led by volunteers, volunteer coaches, volunteer trainers, things like that. So when folks are kind of stuck, I would ask, the community, if we want to find programs for our toddler age folks, let's our toddler age children. If somebody's got a desire or need, and you're also not currently busy, or currently engaged in work or something like that, let's try to get after those spouses or get after those key spouse groups and folks who have the time to volunteer and create those programs from the volunteer base. If that's possible, I challenge folks to look to that as an option rather than waiting for it to happen. We can do it amongst ourselves as well and get after it. So thank you.
Hines, OSS. Our AC has been out for about a week and a half. Fortunately, we have the double house. I have a fairly large family, but one of my other guys, he has a single unit. So his AC has been out since Friday, and they gave him 2 window units. So he's only able to have his family in the living room and then in one other area. So is there anything that we can do to get the ACs back up and running quicker, or can parts from unfurnished houses to get these AC units running?
Yeah, there is. Let's huddle after this. So we had a contract modification that happened a few months ago. It's a joint region contract. And unfortunately, we are not able to do a replacement underneath that contract. But you're right. We've been going to old houses that we're going to tear down and replace it with some of the old units. So if you can get with me and Mr. Andersen right after this, and anybody else, any other squadron commander, if you have an issue like this with one of your airmen in your squadron, please work VFR Direct with me and Bob, and we'll handle these one-on-ones. Using the chit-chat page, my wife was able to tip me off on another situation. We called the individual, one of the chaplain's wives, and we're taking care of her house. So yeah, we can help out.
I just have a couple more things. One thing I wanted to say is, like, some of the CE work orders seem to be a little backed up. I don't know why it takes so long to get things taken care of. But I'm not sure if you guys actually have a work order for this, but the hotspot has no air in the gym. And it's kind of hot. So it's difficult. I'm not sure if you have one yet, but I know you will if you don't yet. But the other thing I wanted to know is there any way ahead for, like, the gym, if there's an expansion or a second gym in the future that is being projected, maybe Northwest Field? Just curious.
All right. Captain Glasser again, over the fitness center. Yeah, our fitness center's layout it's pretty stuck the way it is right now. What we are trying to do is trying to figure out, not necessarily, there's not a plan to expand the building, but we're trying to make it a better flow inside of the building. We have a lot of deployers, a lot of active duty people who want to get there, so we're really trying to look at how we maximize more space. The hallway's pretty big. It's a lot of dead space in there, so we're looking at different things. We just have to get that approved. Once we get that approved, then we're going to try to look to start making changes on that to just maximize the best we can. The way the building is built, it was built originally to have a second floor. That takes funding, that takes time, and all that kind of stuff. So that's not in the funding process as of yet, but we're going to keep on trying to lay the foundation in order to get that to happen. So a second floor, we call it our mezzanine project, that should have another aerobics room and stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen while you're here at Andersen, but we are trying to lay the groundwork for that to happen.
had it, but again.
As you read in the paper and you hear about the SCIS, the Marine Corps move, tied into that is an infrastructure bill that gets at the fitness center question, it gets at the CDC question, it gets at the elementary school question that hasn't come up yet, and the middle school. There's a plan due like middle of July to talk about where the Marine Corps houses go. So there's like a requirement for some 500 some odd houses for the Marine move that comes here, plus the houses we have that are just incredibly old. To kind of put it in perspective for you, for me, like the 2 years I've been here, building 21,000 and about, you've already, and somebody already alluded to, there's houses that no one's in. I still spend about $6,000 to $7,000 a year on every single one of those empty houses that has mold on the outside of it, to run the air conditioner, to take care of the mold problem so it doesn't turn into a biohazard until I can demolish it, okay? When I get rid of, over the period of this year and a little bit into the next year, we'll demolish about 276 of those houses, plus all of building 21,000. Okay, those two things, that cost me $7.5 million a year just for those two things. All right. Now, the demolition of the base housing, like along the perimeter and then starting in the corner and working my way up this way, the intent of that is to provide a footprint to put houses in when the Marine Corps housing decision gets made. Now, the interesting part about that is over the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, I think we finally convinced, we're the closest we've been in the last 10 years to getting the Air Force to acknowledge that 7 years ago, when they realized that we were going to joint basing, they just sort of kicked our housing to the curb and said, it'll be a Navy problem soon, don't worry about it. Okay, I know that surprises some of us, but that's what happened. In July, the intent is to finally say, okay, let's do the right thing. There should be an Air Force paid piece of this, a Navy paid piece of this, and a Marine Corps paid piece of this, and it all should be blended together such that there's a plan to put about 700 and some odd new houses in that'll just be centrally managed, first come, first serve, all that other sort of thing. But the net would be some of the houses you see down at Navy Guam. You can see kind of probably what the design standard would look like with a garage and what have you. And that's the idea, is to get at here. And so we're actively working that, and like granted, you probably don't see too much of this, but we're the closest we've been in the sense of finally getting the Air Force to roger up on this one and say, there's a fair share piece here that we need to pay on, okay? And that's kind of where we are to get at that. So depending upon what that looks like, it also drives hey, where's the other fitness center that goes to accommodate this? Now, whether it's a second mezzanine, which I don't necessarily know works in our particular part of the world as much as another facility, and then it becomes a question of, the discussion we'll come back to you with is going to be what would go into the new facility in the sense of optimizing based on the design we have, what should we put into the other one, the new one, in order to be able to like max perform both of them from a design standpoint. So that's out there on the books. As you watch it in the news and you see what's going on, those are the underpinnings that will impact your lives and make your lives better, depending upon how those decisions get made.
More questions, comments?
Airman Stouffer, 36 Maintenance Squadron. I've had some of the same issues that Sergeant Baldwin has had with the CDC, but it does feel like sometimes you have to put in an ICE comment for something to even get done. Also, another issue I've changed my payment schedule. Me and my husband are both active duty, so of course we get paid 1st and 15th, and that's whenever payments are due. Whenever those days come on, usually there's a really long line because there's only one register open at the CDC, but everyone has to pay that day, or we're denied care. So just maybe another cashier maybe during those days.
Okay, for the issue with your child use said the same issues. If you'd like, I'd like to get with you after this meeting so we can go ahead and further discuss so I can help you out with that. Second, as far as payment is concerned, we'll go ahead and take care of that too as far as on payment dates, as far as the 1st and the 15th. We'll get another clerk on to make sure the registers are running, because we do have 2 registers running. It's just with the 2 shifts, we got a morning clerk that starts at 5:30 in the morning, and then our afternoon clerk that starts at 9. So 9 o'clock, we do have 2 clerks on the drawer. It's just maybe at drop-off, when you're dropping off early in the morning, there's only 1 at the time. And then at closing, we have 2 clerks then at the same time.
Tell you what, I'll go you one better, because this is one the Admiral and I owe you, and we owe it for these folks. Is I'll take that to the Admiral, and basically, I mean, this is 2014. I can pay all my bills online. I can go virtually anywhere and pay for whatever the heck I need to, and I can go through, what is that thing called? Like MyPay or different options. Right now, they don't have anything like that, but that's a thing where we should be able to do that for them, and you should be able to just either set up an automatic payment or be able to pay online and not have to stand in a line and wait for some register process to come through. So we'll...
Sir, we just recently started the auto debit process that you can sign up for. I'm not sure if you're aware of the auto debit. Okay, yeah, we do have that system in place now.
But see, that's auto debit, and then the next question they're going to come at you with is like, well, I don't know what it is every month to make it be the same thing, and I got to keep changing my amount. So the question will just be, is building in, taking advantage of the technology and giving you some flexibility. And the Admiral owes that to you, because at a given level, he's like, you know, installation support for all of the region. So I'll push that up through the JRPC to the N9 for Gerger and say, you need to fix this and give y'all more flexibility so that these folks don't have to come in, and that way your folks can do other things that they need to do, and you can just sit in the, in your house drinking a cup of coffee and knock it out when you're doing the rest of your bills. Okay.
Just a quick thing orientated towards housing. Obviously, I'm aware that we're going for the demolition. The whole new buildings is the end destination with that. With the older units, I'm not quite sure how long we're planning on sustaining those. But if it is going to be over a period of time, would it be possible to look into what the cost effectiveness would be to have like the external foam insulation on the houses? This way reducing the constant workload on those AC units, which, I mean, particular days we can be hitting that concrete absorbs all that heat throughout the day, well into the night. It's basically running the AC 24/7. And we're sitting there with a 5-ton unit on the house. So it's not a small one like some of the houses have. I'm just wondering, how that cost effectiveness might work out. Has that been looked at previously? Would it be advantageous?
I've been doing HVAC for 22 years. We do heat load calculations on all different types of facilities, and I will tell you, based on the design of these facilities and based on the thickness of that concrete, the R factor on that concrete is so much more than any house you will ever get in the United States. Now, with regard to the heat conductivity of the concrete, okay, it's the opposite of what you think it is. Okay? These houses are about 4 to 5 times more efficient with regard to R factor than any house you would ever have in the United States because of the requirement for them to be typhoon proof. Does that answer your question? Copy that.
Floor's still open. Anybody else? Okay, I think that wraps things up. Sir, closing comments?
I'd like to say thanks, everybody, for coming in and for providing the inputs. A couple of them I'll take to the region. A couple of them I think I can fix. On the like similar to the CrossFit thing, and Captain Slater's point, you know, is valid. It's like he helps run that. He's a volunteer, and we have a great program. I can buy toddler equipment, but I need somebody who's going to want to run it and run a program to do it, and an after-hours program and all those other kinds of things. So we'll meet you. You know, we'll get there and work with you on all those things to the max extent. But the intent of the forums, and hopefully this is more, the takeaway as you go back, hopefully, as you talk to your folks, is just that topic du jour and then whatever else kind of crosses your mind is to come into these things and let the families know this is an opportunity to let us know. Some of this stuff I just didn't know. I mean, I would have assumed you could just automatically pay your bill like I pay most of my bills. I just don't know that. So there's things like that we can get at. Those are low-hanging fruit items that we can get at. Other ones are hard, and you know, like some of the housing pieces and that takes a little bit more effort. But I want you to know, and I want you to go out and talk to your buddies and let them know that we're actively on that one. It just requires a little bit more major muscle movement in the House of Representatives and the Congress to work with us and a whole bunch of things. But we're making good progress in that regard. If you can go back to the slide that shows back. No, yeah, that one. For the commanders, look at this slide, okay? And what I want you to think of is all of you here came with the best of intentions. Everything you do on a daily basis in your jobs, you do for the best of intentions. And everybody judges you based on your actions, okay? So even though you have great intentions, this is your actions. So what I'd ask you to do, commanders, shirts, is look at the numbers and realize your airmen are grading your report card. And they're telling you that this is what they are seeing for your actions. They don't get to grade your intentions because I know you all have really good intentions, okay? And we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and hoping to get a different result. So part of the question becomes, I know you have the best of intentions. Now the question becomes, what are we going to do different? Okay? Doing something different requires a little bit of, it's a little harder. Okay? That sometimes it requires a policy change. Sometimes I have to like sign up and say, we're going to do it this way and I'll be responsible and I'm going to provide you like top cover so that we can do it that way to make it better on our families. But somebody's going to have to assume the risk. That's my job because I'm here to get fired so that I can assume risk for you guys so that you can make, you know, other people's lives better off. But these are the numbers that your folks are telling you. What I really think, what I would ask you to come back to me on, to come back to the commanders on, is some sense of the volume of what that says. I have no idea what that means. I don't know how many people responded on the survey. I don't know how many, you know, I don't know, you know, the context of this other than their percentages to get at volume. And my point of that is that y'all coming in here and talking to me about what your issues are is probably as equally valuable to me as this sort of stuff is, just because it's another way of me finding out what's going on. On the your actions piece, you know, there was some comments made about, you know, people aren't getting out enough to like find out what the real problems are. So for commanders, you know, if you're not getting out to every one of your work sections at least daily, well, some of you have got huge work sections weekly, then you're probably wrong. And this is letting you know it's not working, okay? And the intent of these forums and some of these questionnaires is not to be upset at the people that brought you the information, but to just look at it and then be introspective and ask yourselves, okay, what do I got to do different? What do I need to change? Okay? And you heard me say, a lot of times, it's not that General Garland doesn't like to hear bad information. General Garland just doesn't really, if I ask a question, I already kind of know the answer before you even tell me, because that's why I have a problem. So I need a solution to change that. And that's what I'm trying to, you know, we need to try to get at, which is good because it gives us an opportunity to be creative. But it's painful because a lot of times it's maybe not what we want to do or it's not the way we've done it in the past. But that's okay. You know, because at the end of the day, if it's making taking care of our airmen and their families, it's the right thing to do. And I'll be able to stand in front of all my bosses and explain that to them, and they'll go, okay, I'm in. You know, I've had this conversation with the Admiral on different stuff, and when I tell him why, he's like, oh yeah, we need to do that. You know, so that's all good. So thanks for coming. I appreciate all your help. Thanks for the inputs. They were great. The ones that are actionable that we can jump on right away, we will get them to you. We owe you some transparency. We owe you a little bit better information on some certain things. And for folks who have specific issues to do backs on, please get with the folks, the experts here, and talk with them. And for those of you, if you had one you were kind of lingering on, you at least know who answered the questions, and you can go find them after this is over. Okay? Anything else? Okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Carry on, please.